Here's Joel Heitkamp on KFGO Fargo and Super Talk 1270 Bismarck.
Good to be with you and good to be joined by Super Talk 1270 KLXX out of Bismarck here with us on the Mighty 790 KFGO. We have an extended period of time with Congressman Kevin Cramer. We asked him to come into studio, take your phone calls, converse with us, talk about the issues of the day, and you know what? He did it, and we appreciate that. He's here now. Congressman Cramer, good to have you on News and Views.
Be on News and Views. Good to be in the studio and see all my buddies across the hall there at the news department.
Oh, yeah, they're good. They're good folks. Let me throw this at you because we're going to get into some heavy issues here.
Sure.
You know, my job is a talk show host, and you've been a talk show host.
Right.
You've guest host. You've done the job. You know about that. You've been in the political arena.
Sure.
You say things, and I always say that if I'm going to say it, I should say it to their face.
Sure. Sure.
And when you voted for the amendments on the Farm Bill, your Chairman Lucas, said that will blow this Farm Bill up, this compromise we've put together. If you vote to take the nutrition program, the SNAP program, the senior meals, all of that out, that by taking that out, we will not have a brokered farm deal. And so when those amendments came to the floor and you voted to support them along with certain parts of your caucus, Colin Peterson came on and said that's what killed the Farm Bill. And I made the comment, and so I did say this publicly, and I want to say it to you so you get a chance to do it. I said it's one of two things. I said either Kevin Cramer doesn't get it, and he's an idiot, or he wanted the Farm Bill busted up. It's one of those two things. And I did follow it up by saying this. Kevin Cramer isn't stupid. I've known you for a long time. And politically, you are not stupid. So am I right? Is it one of those two things?
No, actually what it is remember, there wasn't an amendment to separate the Farm Bill. That was the new Farm Bill. The Farm Bill that had the nutrition program, SNAP, and food stamps as part of the farm portion failed. So in the next time they brought it up, we brought it up separating the two. The farm piece passed. What hasn't been brought up yet is the SNAP piece, which will come up either the first week we're back or the second week.
But the bill that came out of committee,
right,
with Chairman Lucas, with Colin Peterson, had the SNAP program, had the Farm Bill all in it, and you and others on the floor voted to separate that out.
No.
Your
that
caucus
wasn't separated out on the floor.
No. Okay, I'm sorry. I shouldn't be using the floor.
Yeah.
But you voted for amendments that separated it out. Did you or did you not?
No, I voted for the bill that came out of after the combined bill failed. They brought the bill up in two pieces. I voted for the bill, the Farm Bill that did not include SNAP, the bill that passed. Not voting for it would have meant the failure of a Farm Bill. So the reason I voted for that was to pass a Farm Bill.
But Kevin, let me put it a different way so that the listeners don't get confused by this. Did you support separation of the food portion of the program with the Farm Bill?
No. I voted for a Farm Bill that did not include food stamps. I also voted for a Farm Bill that did include food stamps. The bill that didn't include food stamps passed because it got more Republican votes. The bill that included the food stamps failed because it didn't get enough Republican votes, nor did it get the promised Democrat votes, by the way.
So the bill, it didn't, and you issued a press release claiming that it was the Democrats' fault that the Farm Bill the original one didn't pass.
I didn't claim it was their fault, but they did not deliver the votes that they'd said they would deliver.
Well, the bill wasn't in the form that it came out of committee. It came out of committee with Chairman Lucas and Colin Peterson that included a nutrition program for the nation, which gets you the urban votes that you need, right? Can we acknowledge that?
Yes.
And then your caucus decided that wasn't the way you wanted to go. There were members of your caucus that separated out the nutrition program and from the rest.
No, see, that is wrong, actually. That's factually wrong. The bill that didn't pass had the nutrition program in it. It had food stamps in it. That bill that did not pass, where 24 Democrats voted for it and 172 Republicans voted for it, had food stamps in it. The separation didn't take place till after that failure. Then, in an effort to revive the Farm Bill and get one passed, Republican leadership went to the Republican Conference and said, "Look, we can't count on Democrat votes anymore. What are we going to do? How are we going to pass a Farm Bill?" And the consensus. I shouldn't say consensus. Personally, it's not how I would have done it. I've been quite clear about that. That's not how Frank Lucas would have done it. It's not how I would have done it. But in order to get 218 votes, or at least a majority of the people voting, we had to get conservative Republicans. And what they said to us was, if you separate food stamps from it, we'll vote for the farm portion. And we voted for the exact same farm bill that was failed earlier, minus the nutrition program. Keeping in mind, food stamps have now become 80% of the farm bill. So,
is there an acknowledgement from your caucus that the portion that doesn't include a nutrition program for the nation is dead on arrival in the Senate? Is there at least that acknowledgement?
I don't think there's any question. People
John
know
Hoeven
that.
has said that.
Oh, yeah, people know that. Keep in mind, Joel, we don't have a product yet. And frankly, in fact,
you don't have conferees yet.
No, but we have to pass the nutrition bill or kill it. Here's just to give it right down to brass tacks and practical issues. I believe what will happen is, when we get back on the second week of September, Republican leadership will bring a food stamp bill to the floor, or they'll bring it to the conference, and it will be similar to the food stamp portion of the bill that failed earlier. But they've always wanted to have two separate debates, and there's been a desire for that for a long time. It doesn't scare me. North Dakota Farm Bureau supported that move, as a matter of fact, of separating.
Well, North Dakota Farm Bureau supported eliminating the farm bill. North Dakota Farm Bureau and their members voted to have complete elimination of the farm bill.
Subsidies, of subsidies. I don't think the farm bill, but subsidies, the direct payments they've supported opposing.
Amy, pull it up on the website. The North Dakota Farm Bureau, we had them on. We had the head of the Farm Bureau on, and they voted for elimination of the farm bill.
Well, they were very supportive of what we did in terms of separating food stamps from the farm bill, because they're too wanted to have
killing it, though, Congressman.
They've been supportive of my amendments and the passage of it. They're supportive of the passage of the farm bill as we passed.
But Congressman Colin Peterson, who I think could be a very trusted ally of yours.
He's been very good to me. Yeah.
I think that
he and I have worked together on this.
But he's frustrated by your actions. I've never heard him be critical of you. He isn't that.
No, he's not.
But he said what you and others did on this farm bill basically will kill the farm bill. It'll kill the farm program.
But Joel, we passed a farm bill by separating it. It failed for lack of. I mean, I know Colin's frustrated. God knows he's worked hard on it. None of this is his fault. He's been a very strong ally for agriculture, but his conference has changed dramatically as well, as has the Republican conference. And extremists in both conferences have made it very difficult to broker the type of deal we used to be able to broker. Also, by the way, the economy that our country finds itself in has been made it more difficult. But when food stamps have more than doubled in 5 years, there gets to be a point where even agriculture doesn't want to be tied to that type of a welfare program. So times change. The era has changed, and so we tried it the other way. Let's try separating them, see if that works. When we separated the two, the farm portion passed. I believe when we come back in September, we'll pass the food stamp portion, or maybe we won't. Whether we pass it or we don't pass it, what it does do is it moves the ball one more first down to the conference, and then we will name conferees, and will there be a conference? And I believe, Joel, as a matter of practicality, and you and I are pragmatic people, all of this stuff is just a process that will get us to probably pretty similar to Farm Bill, to what would have passed if we wouldn't have done all of this process.
Actually, and we are pragmatic people. Both of us have been in rooms where we've brokered deals that have moved things forward.
That's right.
So I want to throw that out there.
Sure.
But I disagree with you on this.
Mm-hmm.
If you separate this out, the Senate is not going to support that. Debbie Stabenow, the chairman of the Senate Ag Committee, has said that is dead on arrival.
That's right.
Eric Cantor from your caucus, who seems to be driving the more conservative Tea Party side of the caucus, has said that we're not doing that. We're keeping this separation to this. Sure. We're not naming conferees to the ag bill until we've passed and further reductions in the SNAP program and other things. Okay, right. So let's take that approach. Yeah. We now don't have allies on the ag bill that we need to actually get an ag bill through. So the point being this. This is a nation that built an interstate highway system, sent a man to the moon. We've got faces of presidents carved on mountains. We're not afraid to do things.
Right.
What are we doing?
Well,
what are we doing?
Well, we've also driven up a $17 trillion debt that people are concerned about, and have a welfare.
We've got into 2 wars without ever asking people to pay for them.
And now we've got a welfare program that has more than doubled in 5 years with no incentive for people to get a job, and we need to deal with that as well.
That's not true.
Well,
in the SNAP program, Kevin, you know this. In that SNAP program, there's time limitations. There isn't, and yes, during the recession, things got extended out. I understand that, and that was done with people from both sides of the aisle, because they had people that were down and out too.
Well,
but to say that these people, and let's acknowledge this as well. Ag producers, the very people you and I both support from both sides of the aisle, could not buy insurance at the rate that they're buying crop insurance if it wasn't for the federal government.
There's no question about it.
So to say that it's just people that are on food assistance that are being subsidized is a fallacy.
Well,
we need to recognize we are too.
Nor would I say that. But I will say this: in the combined farm program or the separate farm bills, the farm portion, the agriculture portion, is a cut in the House side is a cut of 10%, which agriculture is willing to accept. And on the food stamp side, the cut is about 3%, which certain members of the Democrat caucus have gone berserk over to the point where they won't support it. So
But in the Senate version, there is cuts to the SNAP program.
There is, and that's fine with me.
And John Hoeven has flat out said, unless you include this, unless you include the nutrition program, this is your senator from your side of the aisle who you served with, who I don't remember. Did John Hoeven appoint you to the Public Service Commission?
Did, yeah.
I would say you've got a fairly close relationship with this man. John Hoeven has told the whole state and the nation that food program needs to be part of this to get it done. We've got to move this ball forward. And what's happening in the House is wrong.
But it will be, Joel. That's my point. What we're doing is we're debating the two separately, but they'll go over to the conference together. So when we pass out a nutrition bill in September, it will then go with the farm portion as two separate bills, and it will be reconciled in the conference committee with the Senate bill.
But you don't have the votes to pass that, Congressman. You will not have the Senate has made that clear. The Democrats who control the Senate have made that clear. Even the Republicans like John Hoeven have made that clear.
No, Joel, when it passes the House, whether it does pass or doesn't pass, the bill will be handed over to the conference committee where it'll all be reconciled anyway. But what we're doing is debating the two pieces separately. Farm, one bill. Nutrition, another bill. We send them together as part of a package as though they were passed together. And then the differences between the House version and the Senate version will be reconciled with the conference committee. And just sort of thinking out loud and hoping, I suspect that the cut to the nutrition bill will be somewhere a little more than what Debbie Stabenow wants and a lot less than what Republicans want, but that will be the conference report. It'll come back looking very much like it would have had we not gone through this exercise. But people want to have a debate about these two issues rather than clouding the two together and sort of building this coalition, which has worked for decades. It's worked for decades.
Your chairman did that. Chairman Lucas did that.
And I supported him, and I voted for the bill.
After there was efforts made to take this out.
Joel, I think you're factually wrong. The first bill that only got 24 Democrat votes had the food stamp program as part of the farm bill.
Amy, call Colin Peterson.
Absolutely.
Call him up.
Put him on.
Let's get him on.
Let's get him in
Colin
here.
Peterson said the product that we came out of that committee on came to the floor of the House, and they did everything they can to separate out the nutrition program from the farm bill, and that's when it imploded, and we lost Democrat votes, and that's why we lost it. He said that here on News and Views.
But what you're stating is that the food stamp program was not part of the bill. It was. It was. What Colin was probably referring to was, by the way, there were 103 amendments offered on the House floor. And
you supported them.
I supported some and I voted against some. One of them was mine, the mitigation, the acre for acre mitigation amendment, which passed. Thank goodness it passed because it's becoming one of the more important parts of the bill. But what Colin is sort of blaming the lack of Democrat support on is that there was an amendment that was offered up that did pass that would have allowed states to run a pilot program if they so chose to require able-bodied adults without dependent children to have to either get a job, be looking for a job, or being trained for a job in order to qualify for food stamps. That's the amendment that passed that Colin and other Democrats are blaming for the lack of passage of the bill. That's a very, very weak argument for voting against a farm bill.
Do you believe you're going to pass a farm bill?
Yes. Oh, I don't even have a doubt that we're going to pass a farm bill.
I'm not talking about out of the House.
No,
I'm talking that the President of the United States signs.
Yes.
Because Debbie Stabenow, I guest host Ed Schultz's national show, and I had Senator Debbie Stabenow on, and I said to her, I said, are you and Senator, or I put it to her like this, I said, is Senator Reid bluffing on just a further extension and a kicking of the can down the road? She said, I'm not.
Yeah.
She said, I'm not bluffing. And if we don't get this done, we're going to.
Yeah, I don't see it that there'll be an extension of the current law. Joel.
It's a good discussion, Congressman. It's fun. So stick around. Let's include others in it.
Sure.
1-800-880-5346 if you want to visit with, have a question or a comment for Congressman Kevin Cramer. But Congressman Kevin Cramer is our guest, and we'll get to some of these email questions as well. But I want to get to Katie. Katie, you are on with Congressman Cramer. Go ahead, Katie.
Hey, thank you. Good morning.
Hi, Katie.
I guess I was just calling in this morning briefly to thank the congressman for all his work that he does do representing the state of North Dakota, specifically representing us in the agricultural sector. My husband and I have a third-generation farm, and he's worked very hard with conservation complaints and mitigation and within the agricultural workforce, immigration work that individuals that come over here in North Dakota. And I guess I just really wanted to tell him thank you and how much that we appreciate it here as a citizen and one of us in the agriculture.
Okay, thank you, Katie.
Thanks, Katie. Katie raised a couple of interesting points. I was trying to write as fast as I could. She talked about mitigation reform, and I did allude to it. And I think all three of us in the North Dakota delegation have been pretty committed to this. It's going to be an interesting fight in the conference once we get to a conference committee, because one of the big differences, as you know, Joel, between the House version and the Senate version of the bill is this conservation compliance for as a part of participating in the crop insurance program. And there have been some editorials written in the eastern part of the state on this issue as well, concerned about separating conservation compliance. But what I think a lot of people don't understand is it has been separated for nearly 20 years as part of the crop insurance program. But the programs that deal with the price supports, those, in fact, still require conservation compliance.
When we come back, all of you folks on hold, stick around. More coming your way with Congressman Cramer. KLXX, good to have you with us. We are going to go to the phone lines with Congressman Kevin Cramer, who is our guest. Susan, you're on with Congressman Cramer. Go ahead.
I just have a question, kind of a statement. Since the Bush's tax cuts have gone into effect here, a.k.a. the sequester, it seems like the Native Americans and the military personnel have been hit pretty darn hard and have had, an effective, really personal effect on their finances and their way of life. And I was kind of wondering, has Congress considered taking a cut in their pay until this gets, till the nation gets back up and running?
Okay, thank you, Susan.
Sure. Okay, a couple of things there. She referenced Bush tax cuts and sequestration. I'm not sure about that. And then whether Congress has taken a cut in pay. Actually, Congress, the congressional budgets have been cut 20% in the last three years or so. And which is fine. It's been a hardest hit on probably the committee work and the ability of the committees to get out and do field hearings and some of the travel and some of those kinds of things. But what we've done, and she raises an important point about sequester and especially military cuts. The sequester, a poor way to budget, in my opinion, but the sequester sort of forces these across the board cuts in every area, which is not the way to budget. Whether you're cutting or raising a budget, you shouldn't do it across the board. Pick the low priorities, defund them all together, and make sure that the high priorities are maintained, and which is what we've done with, in the House side anyway, with the Defense Authorization Act and the Defense Appropriations Act, is given the military that freedom to choose those priorities. In fact, we've done away with furloughs in the Defense Authorization or
but
Defense.
The sequester was an Obama product.
Yeah, it was.
President Obama pushed sequestration because he knew that the Republicans, because of their love of the defense contracts, wouldn't let it go for there, and it ended up going there anyway.
Yeah, well,
so that's just the historical side. Let's get to some more calls.
But I do want to
hold on, Greg. I'll get
because Susan's point about Congress taking cuts is an important one too, because of the hypocrisy, the perceived hypocrisy is a real issue. And yes, Congress has taken some pretty significant cuts in their budgets.
But the answer is you're not going to cut your pay.
But we're not going to cut our salaries unless we get to the next level when we have
Greg, you're on News and Views with Congressman Kevin Cramer.
Yes, hello.
Yes.
Congressman Cramer, you seem to be a big backer of taking the nutrition program away from the farm program. Is that correct?
It's not the way I would have done it as a strategic move, not at all. But the fact that we did do it doesn't scare me a lot, and I'm happy to discuss both issues separately or together.
Okay, so you take nutrition away from the farm program. The farm program is no longer a cabinet-level agency, correct?
I don't know anything about whether it's a cabinet-level agency or not. I guess I'd have a hard time believing that was going to be the case. But because what would happen is the nutrition
cabinet-level agencies are based on the amount of money that goes into the budget of each thing.
But see, Greg,
you take away. I've been told if you take away nutrition from the farm program is no longer cabinet-level agency, and that which case it has to go under a different cabinet-level thing. And I'm willing to bet you that the EPA would just love to get their hands wrapped around the farm.
Yeah, that would be.
Thank you.
That'd be. I don't know whether Greg's right or not. Hopefully, somebody's listening. I'm going to try to find a specific answer to that. But whether you debate them separately and pass them separately, that doesn't mean that the programs don't still go under the same agency.
All right,
we'll check it out.
Let's get to Jay. Jay, you were on with Congressman Cramer. Go ahead, Jay.
Hi, Kevin Cramer.
Hi, Jay.
Good morning to you. One of the things I really voted for you is because I feel you're a good, godly man. And I've heard you talk before about the degradation of society and how we're all going downhill. And I was wondering, what are some things we can do to stop that? Because, I feel, and I've heard one of the things is that women joining the workforce and instead of being able to stay at home and taking care of the house is really hurting us. And I was wondering if you have anything to say about that.
Before you do that, Jay, I want to understand this. Yeah. Are you saying that by women going into the workforce, that has denigrated society?
Mr. Kramer's remark on it. I really think.
Okay, I get it. Yeah, Kevin, go ahead. He's
guess,
all yours.
Yeah. Well, first of all, Jay, I appreciate your listening. I appreciate your vote, and I appreciate the compliment. And with regard to what can we do, I think a few things, Jay. First of all, I think families ought to be able to make more of their own decisions and not be driven to certain decisions. And to the degree that whether it's a tax code or some other regulation that punishes marriage, for example, I think those are things that the government should try not to do to be a detriment to traditional values. At the same time, I lay a lot of this on the church as well in terms of the sort of the cultural challenges in the country, and that is that for a long time, the church sort of got lulled into silence and didn't really perhaps see what was coming, and so I'd like to see the church, if you will, more actively involved in not in politics, Joel or Jay, but actively involved with their own flock. Do you know what I mean? And that the family
I do know what you mean, but people are going to churches that keep up with the world that they live in.
Yeah, right.
And so if Jay's telling me that my daughter, who is an attorney and is raising a beautiful little boy, and my other daughter, who can prescribe medicine and visit you in a clinic and is a nurse practitioner, are denigrating society by working, he's lost me.
Yeah, I don't.
And the church that they go to honors that.
Yeah, I didn't hear him say that.
And so,
and I certainly wouldn't say that either.
No, he did say it. He did say it. He said, he flat out said that women going into the workplace is hurting society. That was his message, Kevin.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't agree with that message. I do think one of the things I would say on Jay's behalf is that what we ought to do as a society and as a government is not punish people who choose to do something different. And sometimes we don't honor people who've chosen to be a stay-at-home mother, make those sacrifices to be a stay-at-home mom, or for that matter, a stay-at-home dad, and if the roles are reversed. And that's a noble calling as well.
The church that I go to doesn't allow gay people to be married.
Sure.
Okay? It doesn't. And that's a choice that I make when I go through that door to go to that church.
Sure.
The church that my daughter goes to allows gay people to be married.
Sure.
If they had the empowerment through the state to do that. In Minnesota they can, here they can't.
Sure.
Now is that a denigration of society, my daughter's church?
Well, I don't think there's anybody that would sit here and somehow defend that the cultural that the country hasn't been going on a cultural decline, hasn't been paying very much attention. And
see, and I disagree.
Okay.
I disagree.
Well, that's fine.
I firmly believe, Kevin, that the very God that I pray to, who made these individuals gay, because he makes all of us, and I don't believe it's a choice.
Sure.
I don't. We want them to live. Both you and I want them born. That's our goal. We want them born. And if they're born gay, I don't want to segregate and tell them that they can't live their life.
I suspect neither you nor I are adequately prepared to argue effectively whether somebody's born gay or not born gay. And I don't think that's really an issue relevant to Congress, to be honest with you. My job is to defend the rights of all citizens in every arena. But
isn't one of their rights then to be married?
I personally disagree with gay marriage as a right. I think that I think the government has made a mistake by even defining marriage. I think that marriage is something that's defined by the church. The government's gotten its nose into all kinds of things.
Well, because it had to, though, because of the IRS.
That's right.
Right?
No, that's very true. The IRS has created
and if one of my daughters was gay,
yeah,
and was laying on her deathbed, I would want her partner to be able to make life decisions based upon that.
Sure, and I don't.
That's what marriage is.
And I don't have a big problem with that.
I just took offense to what Jay said. Jen, you are on with Congressman Cramer. Go ahead, Jen.
Hi.
Hi, Jen.
I am wondering if Congressman Cramer makes $174,000 a year, and he lives in his office in D.C. and can't find housing, how am I, as an individual, supposed to make it off of $24,000 a year? What are your plans?
Which is really what minimum wage is, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Jen.
So she wants me to advise her on how to make $24,000.
I think her point is, how do you expect people? Congress won't move on minimum wage. Oh. And you're sitting there sleeping on a flotation bed in your office because
I can't afford it.
Well, you're not getting rich being in Congress.
No, that's
Kevin.
for sure.
I fully back you on that.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
I do.
Yeah.
I think
I know you do.
I
Joel.
believe you're underpaid.
Yeah, you've been.
And so I've never called for you to take a cut in pay, and I won't.
I appreciate that.
Not because I want your job someday either. Trust me.
But Jen should have my job. It sounds like.
But Jen is right. How does Congress expect her to stay off the SNAP program? The majority of the people who use the SNAP program have jobs. They're poor.
Sure.
They're single mothers.
And I wouldn't suggest they shouldn't be on
So
the
why
SNAP
don't we raise
program.
minimum wage?
You mean as a government mandate raise it?
Yeah, why don't we raise it?
Because a couple of reasons. First of all, I don't think it's an effective way to help people, because Jen may be one of the casualties of an increase in minimum wage when the company she works for can only pay so many people $24,000 a year. If they can afford to pay 4 people that, but they can't afford to pay 5 people that, and they can only afford to pay 3 people $30,000 a year, one of those making $24,000 has to lose out. I believe that the market can work, and as we've proven it in North Dakota. There's no minimum wage in North Dakota, but McDonald's pays $15 an hour where the market demands it. So I don't support an artificial minimum wage prescribed by the government.
Not everybody's got the Bakken.
No, that's right.
I mean, right?
But no, that's
not everybody's got the Bakken in their backyard.
But
if you're in Detroit right now, not everybody wants your car.
No, that's exactly right.
Let's get back to the phone calls. Let's get to May. May, you are on with Congressman Kevin Cramer. Go ahead, May.
Hi.
Hi, May.
Yeah, I'd like to talk about the SNAP program. I'd like to know what ages are eligible for the SNAP program.
What ages? Is that what May asked? Hi, May. Yeah, I don't think there's any age requirement one way or the other at the low end or the high end. The SNAP program largely benefits the people, as I understand it, that benefits the most are senior citizens, elderly, of course, and then young parents, especially single moms, dependents, people with a lot of children, especially, I think, rank very high.
But it's income-based.
But it is income-based, right?
It's not age-based.
It's not age. It has nothing to do with it. It has to do with your other situations in your life. So, but I think, May, if I understand, if there's a point in your statement in your question, there are certain segments, because of just the way things stack up, that get more benefit than others.
Is Congressman Cramer going to support 5-day delivery of mail to ensure the post office can exist?
Am I going to support 5-day delivery?
Yep.
I would support 6-day delivery if it can keep the post office exist. I actually think
we have 6 day now.
I know, but the 6th day, Joel, the reason I say that is I think the 6th day is one of those days. I think in many respects, if we shorten it to 5, for example, we take some of the best market opportunity for the postal service away. Some of the most profitable days, delivering packages, for example, to business on Saturday. Yeah. So I don't think it's as simple as just going from 6 days to 5 days.
Although I could go without a day without mail.
Oh, I could.
But I tell you what, you want to get in big trouble with the elderly? Say what we just said.
Yeah.
Say what we just said.
No,
Okay, I need to read through some of these, make sure there's no cuss words in them. Kevin Cramer is wrong. SNAP has work requirements. Why do you think is working all those low-wage part-time jobs that companies keep wanting and they don't give full benefits or anything?
And that's my point. And I think those are the people that it ought to be the highest priority for SNAP.
Okay. 237-5948, 1-800-880-5346. Okay, we have a little bit of time left with Congressman Kevin Cramer. Email comes in and says, I challenge both of you, Joel Heitkamp and Kevin Cramer, to take the SNAP challenge, which is, if I remember right, the SNAP challenge is where you live for a week or X number of days on the money given to individuals through the SNAP program. Congressman, they want to know if you're willing to do it, if I'm willing to do it.
Hey, I would do that. I actually would do that.
Well, let's do it.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Find a week.
Let's do it.
Is it a week?
We'll coordinate it through your office. We'll do it together.
I'm happy to do that.
Then you can come on air and tell people what you had to eat that day, and I'll tell people what I didn't have to eat
that
day.
Yeah, but listen, anyway. But to his point, though, is I'm not an opponent of SNAP. I've voted for the bill that included it. I'll vote for it again. I voted for the bill that didn't include it. But by the way, one of the things people should know is SNAP, food stamps are mandatory spending. So by separating them and not passing it in the Farm Bill, we ensured that it remains at full level funding without a cut. It's mandatory spending. That was one of the deals that was worked out in 96. But
you would acknowledge that the vast majority of people on the SNAP program are workers. They actually have a job.
Absolutely. But I also know there is a lot of
as with anything. I can find you a bunch in defense. I can find you a bunch in Congress.
That's for sure.
I don't deny that. But the vast majority of people that you and I, who espouse to be the good Christians that someday St. Peter gets to meet us, right? We want to make sure people are fed.
Right.
And the vast majority of people that this nation helps through the SNAP program are working poor,
as it should be.
And we want those mothers to have those kids.
It should be.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So,
and see, that's why the premise of his point is, I don't oppose SNAP. I supported it when it was part of the bill. I support the bill as opposed to, as separated from it. And when it comes back with SNAP in it, I'll support it again.
If the Farm Bill does not pass, if we don't get a Farm Bill in 2013, do you feel that you should run for re-election in 2014?
Well, first of all, we're going to pass a Farm Bill. Whether I run or not is not dependent on whether a Farm Bill passes. We pass a lot.
Actually, that's your job, though.
Yeah,
right?
but also it's also the job to pass an appropriations for defense, which the Senate hasn't done and the House has. It's also the job to pass Homeland Security appropriations.
But you represent a farm state.
I also represent a state that has a lot of flooding. I represent a state that has 2 military bases and an active National Guard. We've passed a lot of things in the House relevant and very important to those institutions that haven't been even taken up in the Senate.
Who runs the House? Because the House seems incredibly divided amongst itself right now. You've got a large contingent of Democrats who seem cohesive on many issues, but in your caucus, it seems as though the far right Tea Party members of your caucus, the Eric Cantor side, are the ones that are really ruling.
It's so funny you always put Eric Cantor on that side, because there are a lot of Tea Partiers that would greatly disagree with you, especially on, for example, immigration reform. Eric's the one in the House that's pushing our conference to try to include some empathy for people with children, immigrants with children, maybe undocumented workers, and how do we accommodate that and realize it's not the children's fault. I mean, he's getting beaten from all sides.
So who's in charge of your caucus?
There's really no in charge in the Republican conference.
It shows Congress.
There's no question about it.
Nothing's getting done.
I would submit to you that the House of Representatives have passed a lot more bills than the Senate has passed, because the Senate has one leader and he dictates whether anything ever gets voted on or not. And that's not been real.
That's not fair. John Hoeven and Heidi Heitkamp both supported a farm bill. They've got it ready. John Hoeven called your caucus out and said, "Give us conferees."
Yep, and they're going to get them, and they're going to get a better bill. By the way, the House farm bill that passed.
And you believe the separation is a good thing for farmers?
I think it's the only way we could pass it, and it'll be a very good thing when we pass a bill.
We took our punches, and yet we're still sitting here. Kevin Cramer, Congressman from North Dakota. Thank you, sir.
It's always a pleasure, Joel.
You bet.
Anytime.
I appreciate it, and our office will get back to your office.
I can't wait to do it
on this SNAP program, and maybe it's time for me to lose a couple pounds anyway. Congressman, we'll get her done.
All right.
Thanks for taking time. Bob Scarpel from Tioga talking higher ed when we come back here on News and Views.